Okay, next I wanted to cover the judging functions, which is the third letter here. And it is often dichotomized between thinking and feeling. So it is oftentimes very weird to dichotomize these, especially if you have thinking and feeling as on the inside as the auxiliary and tertiary functions, like myself. So for my second function in my stack, I have extroverted thinking, and my third function, I have introverted feeling. Together, those are actually fairly balanced, even though thinking is often taking the position of reining in or taming the feeling and saying, hey, we have work to do. You have to stop being moody so that we can accomplish things. That's often what my extroverted thinking is telling my introverted feeling. Shut up and do something. So yeah, it's very weird to have a dichotomy when something is inherently balanced or more balanced within you. You might have a slight preference, but if you kind of train these over time to talk and communicate with each other, they will still have that sort of preference relationship, but maybe not as strongly. So what do they say about extroverted thinking? They say that TE will outline consequences, coordinate and sequence, segment, check against criteria, and it is evoked by what is here and now. I think I can get behind that. Outlining consequences, I feel like NI really does that as well. It's scoping in the timeline. Coordinating and sequencing, that could also be partially attributed to NI or SI. Segmenting, one thing that TE does very well is like chunking things apart, breaking it down. TE, evoked by what is here and now, it might be the relation to extroverted sensing. Whenever SE is paired with TE, they work really well together because you have the what is here and now information that is very relevant to the action that extroverted thinking wants to take. Introverted thinking, in contrast, clarifying principles, categorizing, classifying, analyzing, checking consistency, and universalities. I don't know. NI is very good at clarifying. So is SI. SI will ask you for detail and have you clarify. A lot of times SE will poke and prod at you until you're able to concretize something and clarify it. Yeah, there's a lot of SETE that will be like, tell me what it is you are saying. That might be a little bit of a misassociation. Now, clarifying principles, TI might take something in the external world back into its little TI cave and clarify the logic of the ideas for itself. Maybe that's what it's saying. Categorizing and classifying, NI does that a lot. So I don't know if I would immediately call that TI, and maybe that's why there's a lot of mistypes between INTP and INTJ. Analyzing, NI is really an analyzer. NE is an analyzer. TE will also be involved in analyzing and problem solving. I don't know. There's a lot of SI to some extent will really analyze as well. There's different versions of analysis that's spread across the cognitive functions. So that's really tough to assign that to something like introverted thinking when I feel like I analyze a lot and I'm very analytical as a state of being. And that's coming from my NI, mostly my NITE. Checking on consistency, NI does that too. SI does that kind of internally. I will say that TI, universality, TI does have more of a preference for universality. It's usually TI as an organizing structure that is applied as an absolute or a structured system governing something. It really wants a clear structure or answer that can be applied outwardly. So oftentimes behind any good FE dominant ENFJ, you have the TI on the back end. And it's like this, honestly, cold, heartless system of organization, maybe something like justice. And it wants to apply that to the external world or society to create a structure within society that is deemed to operate as justice or fairness. I don't know, ENFJs are really interesting because they seem really warm outwardly, and a lot of them are, right? And they truly care about people, but often you're like, do you care about people in society as a whole at the expense of individuals? I don't know. It's really hard for me to reconcile with extroverted feeling. Which, yeah, let's get into that because I've been talking about it. Considering others, affirming and accommodating, connecting, checking appropriateness evoked by what is here and now. Interesting. So it's saying the external judging functions are both evoked by here and now. Interesting. Checking appropriateness, I think, is the truest extroverted feeling. FE really wants to affirm and accommodate. That's true, almost to an annoying degree. Like, FE will pay homage to the people around it. Yeah, something with extroverted feeling is that someone with it as a dominant function will probably always be referencing other people and not talking about themselves ever. Which is kind of frustrating sometimes because you're like, what if I want to get to know you as a person? You know, because that's how I build relationships. So am I ever going to have a real deep connection or relationship with an ENFJ? Kind of. I've had friendships, but there is always this feeling of, are we really getting to know each other truly? But you kind of got to meet people where they're at, so however they're operating. I do come across a lot of problems with interacting with extroverted feeling. It's just because I'm an INTJ. I mean, that's just, yeah. Versus introverted feeling. Weighing beliefs, harmonizing and clarifying, valuing, checking congruency, universal. Universal is incorrect. Introverted feeling is incredibly subjective. It plays favorites. It wants to get to know you on an individual level. It wants depth, emotional depth within the relationship. And sometimes FI, if you're not within someone's FI, it might seem rude. Because you're like, why am I not a part of this? Why am I being excluded? Well, maybe according to my FI, you suck. Yeah, that's interesting. Harmonizing, I also disagree with that. I feel like extroverted feeling is more harmonizing. What I do think FI sometimes does, because it is checking congruency within itself. So it's looking at values and actions. Maybe it's looking at values and actions within the external world and processing that and saying, do I align with this action? Do I align with this belief? And if I don't align with this belief, I can't really support it with my actions. You can get FI DOMs who are advocates for a specific cause or person or preference. But oftentimes I feel like with extroverted feeling, you get the real sort of activists or advocates, because extroverted feeling is trying to apply a TI system to society. So like ethics, trying to apply an ethics system and promote a cause in that way. So I almost feel like extroverted feeling is more of where you get your activists. But I could see a specific individual with high FI looking to promote a cause, but they don't necessarily have to, because that's not all of what FI is doing. So that's very interesting. I don't know if I agree with all of the thoughts put forward here. I think I will, at some point, go through individually what they say about the different functions and my feelings on them and how they apply to me, but that day is not today.